They did not pull away because you did something wrong. They pulled away because you started doing something right. And that distinction is going to change everything you thought you understood about this situation. Let's be real for a second. You have been sitting with this, running through every conversation, every text, every moment, trying to figure out what you did, what you said, what shifted, because it happened so fast. One day they were all in, attentive, warm, present, and then something changed. The text slowed down, the energy got cold. The person who made you feel like the most important human on the planet suddenly made you feel invisible. And the worst part? You have no idea why. Here's what nobody tells you. The pull away is not random. It is not about you losing value in their eyes. It is not because they found someone better or because you were too much or not enough. The narcissistic pull away is a calculated psychological move, and it follows a pattern so predictable that once you understand it, you will never be confused by it again. A 2019 study on narcissistic relationship dynamics found that emotional withdrawal in narcissistic individuals is almost always triggered by a shift in perceived control, not by genuine emotional disconnection. Read that again. They did not pull away because their feelings changed. They pulled away because something in the dynamic changed, and that something is usually you. Stay with me until the end of this video because the last reason narcissists pull away is the one that hits the hardest, and it is the one that is most likely happening to you right now. They pull away when you stop being easy to impress. Here's the thing about narcissists and admiration. They do not just want it, they need it, the way the rest of us need air. Psychologists call it narcissistic supply, the constant stream of attention, validation, and admiration that keeps a narcissist's fragile self-esteem functioning. In the beginning, you were a fresh source of that supply. Everything they said landed, every story impressed you, every achievement got the reaction they were looking for, and that felt incredible to them. You were giving them exactly what they needed without even realizing it. But here's what most people miss. The moment you start to know them better, really know them, the dynamic shifts. You've heard the stories, you've seen behind the curtain a little. Your reactions become more measured, your admiration becomes more honest and less automatic. And to a narcissist, that feels like rejection. Not because you did anything wrong, because you became real to them. And real people require real connection, real vulnerability, real accountability. And those things a narcissist structurally cannot offer. So they pull away, not to punish you, to find a fresher source of supply somewhere else, someone who doesn't know them yet, someone whose eyes still go wide at the right moments. Real talk, if you've ever felt like you were being replaced by someone newer and shinier right after the honeymoon phase ended, this is exactly why. It was never about that person being better than you. It was about them being newer. And that's genuinely one of the most dehumanizing realizations you can have about a relationship you invested in. They pull away to reset the power dynamic. No cap, this one is strategic in a way that will make your stomach drop once you fully understand it. Narcissists are obsessed with control, not in the obvious dramatic way people imagine, more in a constant low-level way where they're always monitoring who holds the emotional upper hand in the relationship. And when they feel like that balance is shifting away from them, they use withdrawal as a correction tool. Think about a specific moment in your relationship where you felt confident, where you weren't chasing them, not anxious, not trying to get their attention. Maybe you had a good week. Maybe you were focused on something else. Maybe you just felt secure for a minute. Did they pull away right around that time? Dead ass, that is not a coincidence. When you stop being anxious about the relationship, a narcissist reads that as losing grip, and their response is to create distance, to make you feel that anxiety again, to remind you that their attention is conditional and can be removed at any time. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the random alternation of warmth and withdrawal that creates the strongest psychological attachment known to behavioral science. It's the same mechanism used in slot machines. The unpredictability is the addiction, and the pull-away is the lever being pulled. Here's what this means for you straight up. The anxiety you feel when they go cold, that's the intended result. You're reaching out, you're trying harder, you're questioning yourself. That's the goal. Because the moment you come chasing, they have the power back, and the cycle resets. They pull away when you start setting boundaries. Let's be real, this one is personal for a lot of people watching this. You got a little stronger. Maybe you pushed back on something. Maybe you said no for the first time. Maybe you stopped being immediately available or stopped apologizing for things that weren't your fault. Something in you shifted towards self-respect, and instead of that being celebrated, something in the relationship got colder. That's not a coincidence, bro. That's a direct response. To a healthy person, boundaries are a sign of self-awareness. They make a relationship more sustainable and more respectful. But to a narcissist, a boundary is a threat, because boundaries mean there are places they can't go, things they can't do anymore, ways they can't treat you anymore, and that limits their control. A 2020 clinical study on narcissistic relationship patterns found that boundary setting by a partner was one of the most consistent triggers for narcissistic withdrawal and subsequent punishment behavior. Punishment behavior meaning the cold shoulder, the silent treatment, the sudden emotional unavailability. So when you finally stood up for yourself and they went cold, they weren't hurt, they weren't processing, they were punishing you for having limits, and they were testing whether the punishment would work, whether you would soften, whether you would take the boundary back to get their warmth back. And here's the honest truth, a lot of people do, because the withdrawal feels so much like rejection that keeping the boundary starts to feel like it's not worth the pain. That's the trap, and recognizing it is the only way out of it. They pull away after you give them everything they asked for. No lie, this one is the cruelest one on this list. You gave, and you gave, and you gave. You showed up, you were patient, you were understanding. You made yourself smaller to make them more comfortable. You forgave things faster than you should have. You gave them everything they said they wanted. And then they disappeared. This one messes with people deeply because it feels like the ultimate confirmation of their worst fear, that they are fundamentally not enough, that no matter how much they give, it will never be sufficient. But that interpretation is completely wrong, and it matters deeply that you hear this. The truth is the opposite. Narcissists pull away after you give everything, not because it wasn't enough, but because you have nothing left that they don't already have. The pursuit is over. The uncertainty is gone. And for a narcissist, certainty in a relationship removes the thrill of the chase that kept them engaged. Psychologists describe this through the lens of object constancy impairment, a feature of narcissistic personality structure where individuals struggle to maintain emotional investment in something they feel they already fully possess. You became too available, too certain, too safe. And what's wild is the very things a healthy relationship is built on, security, consistency, emotional safety, are the exact things that cause a narcissist to disengage. Real talk, if you've ever felt like loving someone openly and fully drove them away, it wasn't your love that was the problem. It was who you were giving it to. They pull away because a new source of supply appeared. Real talk, this is the one people are most afraid to say out loud, but you need to hear it clearly and without the version that destroys your self-worth. Narcissists maintain what psychologists call a supply network, multiple sources of attention, admiration, and validation running simultaneously. And when a new source enters the picture, someone fresh, someone easily impressed, someone who doesn't yet see the patterns, existing sources often get deprioritized. This isn't about that new person being better than you. It's about newness. And that's genuinely one of the most dehumanizing realizations you can have about a relationship you invested in. The real-world version of this is they meet someone at work or online or through a mutual friend. The energy starts going somewhere else. The texts slow down, the presence disappears, and you feel it before you can name it, that sense of being gradually deprioritized. And the most disorienting part of this is that they can come back just as suddenly, because supply sources are rotational. When the new source becomes familiar, when it stops generating the same level of admiration hit, they cycle back. That's what makes narcissistic behavior so hard to track in real time. The logic isn't emotional, it's transactional. But here's what most people miss about this specific pull-away. It's the one most likely to trigger hoovering when it runs its course. They will come back. They almost always do. And understanding why they come back is what gives you the power to decide what to do when they do. They pull away because you are finally healing. And here it is, the last reason, the one that hits the hardest, the one that is most likely happening to you right now. You started getting better. Maybe slowly, maybe without even realizing it. You started filling your own time. You reconnected with people you had drifted from. You had a few days where you did not think about them first thing in the morning. You started remembering who you were before this relationship redefined you.